Picture. Prettier than that another levy, isn't it? Good evening and welcome to tonight's council meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First thing I'm going to ask for, is there any agenda changes?
Do we have the? Yes, Mr. Mayor, under E, new business, ask item 5 be added, which is just a presentation from the Land Bank of its annual report to the City Council.
All righty. We'll make that adjustment. We'll move on. Like to open up public forum at this time. Is anybody here that wishes to address the council this evening that's not on the agenda? Seeing no movement from the gallery, we'll close the public forum, and I'm going to move on to ask for the approval of the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, if there's no further discussion at all regarding the consent agenda, I'd make a motion to approve the agenda for February 8th of 2021.
Second.
Heard the motion and the second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries unanimously, and we'll move on to unfinished business. And the first item under unfinished business is a public hearing on a distressed property at 322 Harvey. And we'll go to Ethan for that, as I believe our respondent can't appear because of the weather this evening.
That's correct. The property owner could not be with us tonight due to the weather. Did want to pass on that this week should be signing a purchase contract with another party to sell the property. Did advise, or speaking with the city attorney, the city does have a right to weigh in on that if we so choose. I'll leave that all up to you at this point, though, to kind of continue to hold the current property owner accountable. I would advise that you, through motion form, make a motion for staff to prepare some sort of resolution for action on the property, be it condemnation or something, in case this doesn't go through. That we, next meeting in 2 weeks, can take action on the property through that resolution, as opposed to waiting for 2 more weeks and then seeing if something has happened or not happened. So that would be my recommended advice. I'll gladly turn it over to City Attorney Jantz if he has any other thoughts on the matter. But I will say that the distressed property hearing doesn't go away just because the property changes hands. But if it would change hands, we can communicate with the new property owner and ask them to come and present their plan for the property to you all, hopefully at the next meeting. And then you guys have the option to still review their plans with that property, so.
Kind of covers it.
Okay.
What we've got are 2 alternatives from the council's perspective as a hearing body. Either a order for remediation if you feel that that's more appropriate given the current status of the property, or the prima facie case generally is if it appears that it would take more than 50% of the value of the property to repair it and bring it back up to minimum code standards, then the presumption is that it would be taken down. That finding is made by this body. I can bring both resolutions with me to the next meeting so you're prepared with those if you need them for any reason. In the one instance, we would undertake the potential repairs and then it would be a lien against the property. The other, it's what we've done before a couple of times in the city, taken one down and just had a blank lot by the time we were through after everything was fully capped. We set a time frame within which the property owner has the opportunity to do that himself, if he so chooses. And any time after that time frame, like 60 days, the city reserves the right on the 61st day or any time thereafter to go ahead and retain someone to take it down. And again, the costs of that, less any reclaimable salvage, are a lien against the property. That's not necessarily something that we have an active way of recovering as a general rule. But it is at least a possibility. And I've seen it happen before, where a lot gets sold, and then at that time, it's sold for enough that the value of our demolition is paid for. But, so I could bring both of those so you're not making a decision this evening as to which way you would prefer to go, but at least have them available to you for action at the next meeting.
Well, if you bring both of those documents, have them available next meeting, do we still want to make a motion, as Ethan mentioned, that we could move forward and act on condemnation of the property? Do we want to continue to also do that?
If you do that, then basically I know which one I'm going to bring. If it's a condemnation proceeding for purposes of taking the property down, it's going to be a demolition. If you've made the determination or feel it's clear to you that the property value in terms of juxtaposed against the cost of repair to bring it up to code is going to be more than 50% of the realized value of the property once repaired, then I just bring the one. If I'm just saying it that way I did, because if you want the option to review it again at that time and decide if you think, well, there's, at least it's a close call from our perspective and we think it could be repaired, and that would be the other alternative.
If we made a motion for condemnation and the next meeting, say the property is sold and the new owner comes forward, he decides it's over 50% of the value of the existing structure, but he still wants to proceed to fix it up, we can alter that motion.
Yep. Yeah, you don't have to go forward with the resolution, which it requires publication and some other elements before you can actually finalize it.
Or we can just leave it status quo for now and make the decision next council meeting.
Sure.
I'd prefer to leave it until
Yep.
next council.
I agree.
And then just assume that I bring both of those so that you have them available.
So we need a motion to table this until the next meeting then?
Just to continue the hearing to the
Continue,
next
yes.
meeting.
Well, I'd make that motion to continue this item until the next scheduled council meeting.
Second.
Heard the motion and the second to continue the public hearing for distressed property at 322 Harvey. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those same sign, that motion carries. It'll be on our agenda next meeting. We're gonna move on to new business now, and item number 1 is a public hearing for review of active tax abatements. And I'll let Ethan do an introduction there.
Thank you, council, or mayor and council. In your packet was just kind of the analysis of the information submitted by Martin Machine and Welding and Leg Company in compliance with their ongoing tax abatements from the city of Halstead. I do believe we have representation from both companies here this evening, so I'll invite you to invite them all to speak here in just a minute. And they can talk about their companies, but as you can see, staff, after reviewing the documents and substantiating documents, are recommending approval of the continuation of tax abatements for both of those companies. Feel that they're still operating in good faith with the conditions that those abatements were granted under. Obviously, the COVID pandemic has impacted everyone, and our local businesses were not unfazed by what's going on in the world. But I'm happy to see that all of them reported optimistic outlooks beginning this year. So with that, I will turn it back to you, Mr. Mayor, to recognize their speakers.
Well, Steve, you were here first, so I'll welcome you to the podium first.
Come up to the podium.
Yes. Go ahead and state your name and who you're with, and address us how you'd like.
All right. Good evening, council, Mr. Mayor. My name's Steve Burt. I'm the general manager at Martin Machine and Welding, and I'm representing Martin Machine and Welding in the tax abatement. Our desire is to continue it. Our outlook for 2021, I feel like it's going to be a positive move versus the 2020 year. 2020 was pretty bad. Our oil and gas industry went down at the LMI facility, and we were really slow. And we're hoping to see some positive movement. We just had some calls today from the NOV Corp, and they were inquiring about some additional sellers. So hoping that things are going up. All Any questions for me? Anything that I could help with?
I noticed you guys had LMI shuttered for a while, but it's back up now and you're
Yeah,
getting some
we're,
work
we're
on that.
building some cellars right now.
That's great.
And then we had just done a quote for 66 more. And so hopefully that comes through. That'll be get us into second quarter anyway.
Let's just hope it keeps getting better, or let's just hope it gets better.
What's that?
See, let's just hope it gets better.
Yeah, definitely.
If there are no questions, I'd make a motion to approve the continuation of the tax abatement as established by ordinance 1258 for Martin Machine and Welding for 2021.
Second.
Heard the motion and the second to approve the continuation of the tax abatement for Martin Machine and Welding. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those same sign, that motion carries unanimously, and thanks for addressing the council this evening, Steve, and we hope everything gets better for you guys.
Yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Next, we'll hear from Leg Corporation. I believe Corey's here to address us this evening.
All right, yeah, my name's Cody Knaus. I'm the president and general manager out there at Leg Company. Yeah, 2020 was a little bit of a down year, obviously due to COVID and everything. We did have that big plant expansion that we finished and is coming online, and we've been filling the orders for that, and they continue to be strong, and we look forward to that continuing on through this year. Right after the first of the year, all of our orders have picked up tremendously, so we're starting to add people back, and the outlook looks pretty positive. So we're here to ask that our tax abatement be reviewed and extended as well.
If I think back to the years that Leg Company has been in Halstead, how many years has that been? Do you know offhand?
It was 80 last year. This is 81.
80 years.
Yeah.
From a little metal building to what you are today. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Now, you might remind us again, primarily this latest expansion you did, what did that bring to your manufacturing?
For the OEM business of draper belting, which is kind of what our company was started on as far as belting goes, it makes us the leader in that area for the world. In fact, we're starting up a R&D center here in Halstead, and there's 2 other plants within Continental that also make draper, but we'll provide our expertise to those 2 plants as well. So every project they're working on will come through us as well.
That R&D facility will potentially bring on extra employees then?
It'll bring 1. We already had 3.
Good.
So, yeah.
And that'll all be within your existing structures, or will there be
Yeah.
a separate R&D building put up?
No, it'll be in the engineering office that we currently have.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, with that, if there are no more questions, I would make a motion to approve and continue the continuation of tax abatements as established by ordinance number 1236 for Leg Company for 2021.
Second.
Got the motion and the second to continue the tax abatement for Leg Company. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thanks for being here this evening.
All right, yeah, thank you.
That will conclude our public hearing of tax abatement reviews. And moving on in new business, we have a consideration of check number 117246 to C Squared Signs. And because Ed is a council member, we always put these out publicly whenever we approve payment to his business for any service. So, Ethan, you might want to let us know what that check's for. And
Sure. That check was for decal work, specifically golf cart decals, and then decal work on Squad 25 in the fire department.
Well, if there's no further discussion, I'd make a motion to approve check number 117246 in the amount of $245 to C Square for 2021 golf cart decals and decal work on Squad 25.
Second.
heard the motion and the second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, and that motion carries. Now we're going to move on to consideration of resolution number 02-08-21-02 surplus equipment. Ethan will bring us up to par on what he's needing there.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Per financial policies of the city, any surplus equipment is declared by the city council, and that allows us to liquidate the property. These items have all been, we've had buyers approach and negotiate, sell for the items from public safety, as far as Halstead Fire EMS. It's $8,000 from Burton Fire District number 5 to purchase the current EMS truck, which is the 2010 F-150. Keeping that in a public safety role for another community. And then Colwich Fire Department has offered $500 for our rescue boat, which again, the city of Halstead received that from the city of Newton, and this would see that continue to be kept in a public safety role and benefit another area department. And then there is, let me find the Jacobson Fairway Mower, which would be going to Wildcat Fun and Fitness, which runs a 9-hole course in Manhattan, Kansas, for the mower. And then we're also seeking agreement to, or permission to enter in with Brindley Fire Apparatus to sell the ambulance that Director Lowe referenced last meeting. We feel that the ambulance is specialized enough, and just kind of seeing what the market's been like on sites like Purple Wave, that we'll be able to secure a higher price for the ambulance. If Brindley Mountain brokers it, there is a 10% fee, but we still feel even with that fee, we'll net more for that piece of equipment with them and their contacts in selling it. So the department heads are here tonight if you have any specific questions on why they want to do these direct sales as opposed to Purple Wave, but our recommendation is for approval of the resolution so we can move forward.
I only have one point in, or I shouldn't say disagreement, one point of concern. I don't disagree with the price that Burton has offered for the truck or in the ambulance sale. I think that's specialized enough. $500 for that boat. I've done some looking online, and I would recommend that be put up maybe for sealed bid on its own. Because prices I've seen on those, you're looking anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000, unless it's just too expensive to do that.
It wasn't expense, it was keeping it with the fact it was originally given to us in a public safety capacity, and so continuing its use in public safety. But if you all as a body say you want to try and get the most out of it, then, I mean.
What did we give for it?
What did we give for it? I think $1.
Yes,
Yeah,
because they couldn't give it to us, we had to pay Newton $1.
So,
Yeah, it would be my opinion to move forward and sell it to Colwich. It would be my opinion.
If we only paid $1 for the thing, yeah.
And if it was just going out for public sale, I would agree with Sam that we should accept sealed bids on it. But since we're basically transferring it to another service entity, I'm okay with that.
Well, if there's no more questions or discussions, I would make a motion to approve resolution 2008-2102, a resolution declaring certain property of the city of Halstead, Kansas to be surplus and ordering said equipment to be sold.
Second.
Heard the motion and the second, all in favor say aye.
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 Sorry.
Same sign. That motion carries, and we'll make some garage space over here in the fire EMS building. I'm sure Andy and Jim will fill it back up as quick as possible. We're gonna move on to number 4 under new business, which is discussion of a spring city council work session date. Ethan, you must have some dates in mind for this.
yeah, just to work with anticipated schedules and still keep us, we're looking at either the week of March 1st or March 8th. And other than that, just kind of turn over to discussion for you all of what dates in either of those weeks might work best for a work session. excuse me, the items kind of tentatively on the agenda would be the 2022 budget priorities, because we're already planning for next year. And then hopefully by that point, we will have information to discuss 204 Main in more detail. Have some information on continued development in the Cedar Meadows and Red Fox additions. Then relay some information and get council's thoughts on city hall security upgrades, and then an update on kind of strategic plan initiatives and where we're at with certain items. So those would be what we have right now, and it's possible that something else might come up that gets on there as well. But those work sessions are usually an hour and a half, in length. Figured that you all can discuss what dates those 2 weeks might work best for you all.
Any day those 2 weeks are fine for me.
Well,
For the 12th.
Well, the 12th doesn't work because 2 of us will be absent then.
and the 8th, we have council.
The 8th is a council meeting day, sorry, yeah.
No.
The first week in March would work best for me. I've got a lot of stuff going on with work that next week.
I got a site visit the second and third by the State Board of Nursing. I'd prefer to do it the second week. But I'll try to make it work. I just know I'll have a lot of stuff to do that week.
You guys battle it out, I'm flexible.
Unless we do it Thursday, the
I'm
4th,
flexible.
I'm okay with the 4th.
okay?
If you're all right
Let's
with
do
it.
the 4th versus, because they'll be here the second and the third, so I gotta keep Monday open.
Yeah.
For any last minute stuff, and they should be gone by noon on Wednesday, I hope.
So we're Thursday, March 4th?
Yeah.
6 p.m. work for everyone as far as start time, so we're not, okay.
Yeah, steak and lobster be ready.
Steak and lobster, so I'm thinking.
Yeah, coming out of Brad's budget.
More importantly, make a note to send us a reminder email that day.
Think we can get gummy steak and lobster.
Yeah.
And I do think dinner should be on the city attorney that night.
Usually is, isn't it?
It needs to be homemade, not store-bought.
I've seen him make up the receipt for his tax deduction.
All right, that'll take care of,
Ramen noodles aren't that big a deal.
Just have a
that'll
motion.
take care of our, spring city work session date. Yes? Yeah, we will.
I'll make a motion to have city council work session date set for March 8th. Fourth, whatever day. March 4th
At 6
at
p.m.
6 p.m. There we go.
Second that emotion now.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. We've done lost it.
Opposed, same sign. We have that work session date for March 4th at 6 p.m. Now we're gonna move on to the last item under new business, and that is a land bank presentation. And Ethan,
I will turn that over to City Clerk Eberly, because I do not have the report.
we'll get to hear from Jamie on this evening.
Okay, I emailed you guys all the annual report for 2020. Obviously, the land bank did not purchase anything throughout 2020, so nothing has changed. There is still $10,000 left in the budget for the 2021 budget year. So,
Short, sweet, and simple. Do we need a motion?
Just need a motion to
Motion
accept
to
the
accept.
report.
Accept the report.
And I will note that the land bank still does own one property, which is 204 Main. So,
Oh, yeah. How can we forget that one?
yeah.
So I'll make a motion to approve the land bank report as submitted.
Second.
Heard the motion in the second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, and that motion carries unanimously. Now we're gonna move on to our next item on the agenda, and we do have 2 executive sessions scheduled for this evening, so I will entertain a motion for the first one now.
All right. Oh, Mr. Mayor, I move that the Halstead City Council recess into executive session for 20 minutes to discuss potential litigation pursuant to the consultation with an attorney on matters that would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship, exception KSA 75, 4319B2. And ask that in addition to the governing body, the following persons join the governing body in executive session: the city manager and the city attorney. the open meeting and governing body to reconvene at the city council chamber at 7:45 PM.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to move into executive session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are moving to executive session. Council will move to the room down the hall. We are back from our executive session. Is there any action to be taken as a result of? Seeing no movement from the council, we'll move on to our next item, and that is an additional executive session for non-elected personnel. I'll entertain that motion now.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the Halstead City Council recess into an executive session for 20 minutes to discuss the performance of a city Halstead employee and maintain privacy rights. Pursuant to the personnel matters of non-elected personnel, exception KSA 75, 4319B1. And ask that in addition to the governing body, the following persons join the governing body in executive session, the city mayor and the city attorney, to open meeting and governing body to reconvene in the city council chamber at 8:05 PM.
Second.
I've heard the motion and the second to move into executive session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We will move back into executive session. On, council? Okay, we're back from our executive session. Is there any action to be taken as a result of? Seeing no movement from the council, we will move on to the next section of our agenda, and that is the report section. We'll start with governing body, and tonight I'm gonna start with you, George.
Mr. Mayor, I have nothing tonight.
Michael?
All I have to say is for the citizens, stay safe and be warm. It's gonna be a cold one.
It's gonna be cold all this week. Sam? And Denise?
Nope, just stay safe and drive carefully.
All right, now we will move on to Ethan for the manager report.
Thank you. I apologize, give me just a minute here.
I can talk about the weather a little bit while we're waiting.
As I say, I just
Wear your long handles.
lost my report. I'd like to say I'm great enough that I memorized it, but I did not.
We are looking at potential for some right at zero lows in the next few days, I believe, if I remember right.
I think there's a negative below zero tonight this week, I think.
Friday or Saturday, I think it was supposed to go negative for the low, so
Yeah.
definitely temperatures we're not used to seeing around here. So those of you with outdoor pets, you need to.
If
double
this
check
would have
on
been
that,
the
too.
week that we had the regular home show, it would have been this coming weekend. The night before the home show, we sit outside in the cold so we could be first in line to get the booth for next year. That would be this week. So, but we're not doing it this year. We're doing it online now.
So I say, well,